Hi, welcome to PunchlineGloucester.com. I'm Mark Owen. Each week I invite a panel of business experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's happened in their own individual business, their own individual business sectors, and finding what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. But before I start, I just want to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. Okay, let's meet the panel. This week we've got Jon Lock. He's a co-founder of independent publisher Big Punch Studios. Jon has written and edited numerous titles over the last decade. His work has been featured in 2000 AD magazine. I remember the first one coming up, big Judge Dredd fan in 1978. And he's also the writer of Tiny Hercules, a series of graphic novels. And they've just won a 4-book publishing deal with Macmillan Children's Books. So we'll find out all about that. He's also the founder and editor of Afterlife. So we'll find out all about that as well. And there's also an exhibition coming up at the Jolt starting this week. So, okay, thanks for joining us today, Jon. We've also got Nick Gazzard, OBE, founder and CEO of Holly Gazzard Trust. The Holly Gazzard Trust was created following the murder of 20-year-old Holly Gazzard in 2014 by an ex-partner. Set up by parents Nick and Mandy along with sister Chloe, the charity helps reduce domestic violence through creating and delivering programs on domestic abuse and promoting healthy relationships in schools and colleges. In 2015, they set up the Holly Gazzard app. So we'll find out how that's getting on and also what's next for the charity. And I know that Nick's very, wants to work closely more with businesses. So we'll find out about that. Thanks for joining us today, Nick. We got Paul Fong, Managing Director of Morgan Elliott Planning, MEP for short, independent town planning consultancy. The company employs 8 staff based in Cheltenham. They have major concerns from the outset of Stroud local plan examination that the inspectors were ill-informed to determine the soundness of the plan. It's all becoming very, very complicated. So I've asked Paul to come on the show to explain what's going on in light of a letter that's been sent by Cathy O'Leary, the leader of Stroud Council as well, to the planning inspectorate. So that's going on as well. And also, he's involved with the new sharpness assessment with 1,000 dwellings. So there's a lot to wrap in there with you, Paul. Looking forward to hearing about that. And finally, never last not least, we've got Ian Mean, MBE. He's Director of Business West, ex-editor of The Citizen, Cheltenham Echo, Western Daily Press. He's also chairman of the Gloucestershire Organ Donation Committee. So he knows a thing or two about the NHS. So we'll find out his views about the big news yesterday about the NHS as well. Okay, let's quickly share the screen. What's making the headlines? Okay, can everybody see that? The Daily Telegraph. Okay, peace on my terms warns Putin. The Daily Express. Putin, I will agree truce, but only on my terms. The Times. Putin backs ceasefire in Ukraine, but on his terms. The Financial Times. Starmer axes NHS England to big help service revamp. The Guardian, street and scraps NHS England in high stakes push to improve, but also there on the bottom, it's about Putin again. The Metro, Starmer's shock NHS takeover. The Eye, NHS revolution, street and seizes control. The Daily Mail, finally, patients to be put before NHS bureaucrats. The Mail, put the knives down. Terrible story. Murdered teen's family plea crime as killer is jailed for life. The Sun. Why I fell in love with Villa, says the Sun. And the Daily Star. What's the time, Mr. Psycho Scumbag Chatbox? Okay. That's all about apparently that chat boxes can't read the time. Okay, and let's start with you today. Always great to get you on the show. I know you're gonna start with the NHS probably. What's your take, please?
My take is my old paper, the Daily Mail, has the best headline. Finally, patients to be put before NHS bureaucrats. This was a bombshell yesterday, Mark. No one expected that. We saw the head of the NHS England suddenly disappear last week, and that was a precursor to this. Talking about 18,500 people in all, 9,000 odd jobs to go, according to the Mail. And I was interested in the piece written by the cancer specialist in the Mail, Professor Carol Secura. And the headline on that is, not a single person on the front line will shed a tear for the abolition of this bureaucratic folly. This was actually set up by Andrew Lansley in the Tory government. It's an overarching umbrella operation of the NHS. lots and lots of bureaucracy. Basically, hospital trusts should be left to get on with it themselves. That's that. And obviously, Putin is the big story. Times Putin backs ceasefire in Ukraine, but on his terms. And the same with the Telegraph, peace on my terms, warns Putin. My take is that Mr. Trump's going to have a hard job in convincing Mr. Putin. Trump probably wants to be seen taking the Nobel Peace Prize for this, but I think this is going to be a tough job. And the last thing, which will please my wife's family massively, the Sun is out on its own with 7 pages of Prince William saying why I fell in love with Aston Villa.
I can't imagine that many people fell in love with Aston Villa. Are you a big fan, Nick, of Aston Villa?
I don't mind Aston Villa, but not a big fan.
Okay, thanks very much, Ian. But let's go over to you, Nick. What have you picked out for the papers, please, sir?
The first one I've got here is about McDonald's, and the headline is every McDonald's in Britain has been warned its owners could face legal action if they fail to take steps to protect staff from sexual abuse. Now, they've had plenty of warnings around this in McDonald's, and the Workers' Reform Act of October added positive actions that businesses must take to protect their staff. And the new addition there was from customers and clients, which obviously McDonald's have a big customer and client base. A lot of McDonald's workers are very young, and if you read some of the comments in here about what things are happening, is that a 16-year-old employee based in the West Midlands said she was bullied, shouted at, and sworn at by managers. I think the Workers' Reform Act is brilliant, and some of these bigger companies have to get their act together to protect their staff. So that's the first one I've got there, and I'll pick up a bit more about that later on. The second one, and I do apologise for mentioning this person's name, but the headline is Spotify takes down Andrew Tate pimping podcast after complaints. Now, this is all about employee power. The misogynistic influencer Andrew Tate, he's got various podcasts, and he calls them degree courses or PhD courses. And from pressure from the employees of Spotify, they've taken down his degree course in pimping hoes. That's what it's titled. We all know what he does. We all know his influence. And the reason why I put that one in as well is because it was also reported that earlier on, Kyle Clifford this week, a former soldier, watched up to 10 Tate videos before murdering Louise Hunt, her sister Hannah, and their mother Carol. And obviously John Hunt, big racing fan, it's racing week, so I wanted to put that one in there as well. So I'm glad that we have employee power there, making sure Tate doesn't have these fueling degree courses on the internet. A couple of lighter side, it's been reported in the independent fuel prices are expected to fall after a 6-month high, so we should see a 6 pence per litre for petrol and 3 pence per litre for diesel reduction over the coming weeks, and that's due to the fall in the oil price from $80 to $70. But I just put a caveat there, Mr. Trump. Is he going to put anything on the price of a barrel? And the final one I've got is an interesting one. I went out for a burger and came back a millionaire, says a father after winning a scratch card. This guy, he went out for a burger during the lunch hour, bought a couple of scratch cards and won £1 million. That's not bad for an hour's work. And some of the things that he said, he didn't know where to keep the scratch card. I decided I should keep it close, literally. So we put the ticket in a plastic bag and taped it to my body. The length some people will go to.
Hey, look, I've lost my iWatch, so I would definitely be more worried about losing a £1 million ticket. Thanks ever so much. Good roundup, Nick. Paul, welcome to the show. Great to see you.
Morning.
What have you picked out from us, please?
Well, I'm going straight to the Times. The headline about 10,000 staff facing sack as Starmer abolishes NHS England. Again, I agree with Ian that this is not going to cause any tears because it's a classic case of big business wasting a lot of money. But the point that really needs to be drawn from this is I am impressed with the economic approach by this government. I think they're taking some hard lines to actually make the economy work in this country, which is paramount to get us back on track. So congratulations to Mr. Starmer. You will know that I'm also impressed by some of the tones that Angela Rayner has come out with in terms of getting Britain building again. Moving away from that, I'm going to go straight to the Independent and follow the same theme on page 7 of the Independent. It's got a dual article about civil servant held 3 full-time government jobs at the same time. Unbelievable. But these things happen in big organizations, and it's good that they're being rooted out, because this is our money that's being wasted on these individuals who selfishly take these jobs and pretend to do the work. And directly under that, we've got an article about home working and how a lot of government officials are using home working to work a maximum of 2 days a week while shoving a mouse around and taking the rest of the week off. I'm not a great fan anymore of home working. I do understand that there is opportunities for people to work from home, and it does help people in certain circumstances. But I'm slightly shocked about the local government approach to home working and how lax this has become, and whether that's productive or otherwise. Because when I try and get hold of a planning officer on the phone and can't even get through to an operator, it does make me think that the home working in the local government sector isn't working at all. Then I'm going to jump over to page 14 of The Sun, not a newspaper I often read, but it states that Asda's fuel pumps are going to be cheaper this morning by 4p. That's great. The reason I want to raise that is because it's a good signal of the economy. We're all going to feel a little bit better because of that. I've come out of meetings yesterday where the agents are predicting a housing boom, plenty of house sales going on, plenty of house building going on. The reason house building is going on is simply because Angela Rayner has freed up the shackles to the constraints that we experience in the planning system. There's a bit more optimism in the builders presently, and we will see a lot more development coming through this year, which will trickle down to everybody in the economy, because we are the front line of the economy. So that's my roundup of today.
Yeah, good old roundup. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Let's go over to you, John. Welcome to the show, by the way. Great to see you. What have you picked out for us, please?
Just a couple for me. But the first one that springs to mind is an article by New Scientist, in which, through a Freedom of Information request, they've been able to gain access to the Chat GPT records of, just double check his name, which is bad, and maybe I should have asked AI, UK's Technology Secretary Peter Kyle. I must admit that the government's recent consultation on AI and the developments in that sector have been perhaps the bane of the creative industries, and we've been feeling these firms circling for a while now around smaller creators, and I know there's been a lot of frustration among my community, other kind of creators, in the language and discussion tone of the language being used around the development of AI and the potential slashing of copyright law in the UK, which I personally find very concerning. We've been lucky enough to meet with our local MP in Cheltenham, Max Wilkinson, who invited us to a round table. I don't know whether to laugh or cry sometimes, particularly when we see that the Technology Secretary is asking ChatGPT questions like, why aren't more small to medium businesses adopting AI into their enterprise? And I just find that so utterly, it's almost Kafkaesque, like we're a government that wants us to incorporate this technology into every aspect of our lives is asking the technology why people should do that, what's the incentive.
Can I just bring you? Let's talk a little bit. I've only got a minute, John. But this thing about your copyright using with AI. I mean, that would wipe out companies. Surely you own the copyright. You're the creator. You designed it. You wrote it. How can they take the bloody copyright away? I don't get it.
It would be devastating. And to be honest, the simple fact is, if we were talking about the stealing of physical IP, so say a company broke into the premise of a rival to steal a prototype they've been developing, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. But there's this idea that if it's copyright, if it's digital, if it exists anywhere on the internet, it's fair game. And I don't think it's only creative people who should be concerned. I think also business and innovation. I don't think a machine that pumps out the most probable outcome is the same as true innovation. I think that's not the future I would like to see.
I totally agree. Obviously, we create Punchline every day, and it's copyright. It's ours. Should be able to copy it and use it anywhere. We have that already with small other people doing it. I have to pull them in. Thanks ever so much for that, John. Good old round up there. I'm looking forward to coming about your comics as well. I know that, Paul, that you have to go early today, so let's bring you in straight away, if that's okay. Look, this Stroud plan, the Stroud economic plan, whatever it's called, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Can you give us an overall view of what's actually happened, please?
So this is a plan that's been in gestation for several years now. It's been going for about 5 years, and it's a locally devised plan that shows where the blueprint for growth in the district will be held until 2040. So it's a very, very important document. It's been consulted on quite considerably. It's been designed by the local people, and yet we now have inspectors coming from Whitehall saying that it should be binned simply because there isn't funding for junctions 12 and 14 of the M5. Now, just to give you an insight into what that means, the Stroud District Council have put a large amount of growth around the Severn Vale, which is along the M5 corridor. And the inspector's saying, well, if you put that growth there, how can people get into their cars and onto the motorway if the two junctions there don't have capacity? So what the Stroud District Council has done is sat for a long time with National Highways, the Gloucestershire County Council and South Gloucester Council, said, well, what capacity is there in those junctions? We've worked out what that capacity is, and we can deliver probably about 71% of the growth of the local plan between now and 2040. And then subsequently, they will apply for funding from the government and finish those junctions off by the time the plan expires. So that is a perfectly logical and predictable way of providing that growth. But the inspectors said, well, unless you have that funding in place, we're going to bin the plan. That is fundamentally wrong. And what Cathy O'Leary has said is it's not rooted in this world in terms of what their decision-making process is. And that is correct. They haven't got that particular point right. Now, the alternative for binning that plan is that you have a free-for-all on development. You get unscrupulous little buggers like me going around putting development exactly where our developer clients want it and not where the people want it. And consequently, you don't get the planned growth and community benefits that would otherwise come from a local plan. So it's dangerous what these inspectors are doing. And then on the back of that, we'll all know that Angela Rayner came in and said, we want a pro-growth agenda and we will fund the infrastructure. Now, yesterday, Geoffrey Clifton Brown and Simon Oper took this to Parliament and debated it in Parliament. Keir Starmer has now picked it up. And Keir Starmer will go to the Deputy Prime Minister and say, what on earth is happening here? And I expect that they will uphold Cathy O'Leary's decision. And we certainly hope that will be the case because we want a locally devised plan coming forward. Now, just to give you an implication of what this means, if that plan was removed, I work for people like Renishaw, for Ecotricity, doing the Sharpness New Settlement, and that is all planned growth that we have designed and ready to roll out. If this plan is binned, potentially all that growth will be put on hold, and that will deprive our local economy, not just Stroud, but the whole of Gloucestershire. That will deprive the economy of all that growth and well-being. What I mean by that, the well-being, is the investment in our infrastructure down to potholes, down to health services, police services, health, and everything else will not happen within our districts and our county up to 2040. So we are pushing for the inspectors to reopen the examination and to deliver that plan on behalf of the government.
Okay, thanks ever so much for that, Paul. Really, really interesting as well. And I know you're going to keep Punchline informed. We're going to follow the story as we do down that development that you got in Sharpness, which is 1,000 dwellings as well. I know you're working on that, and hopefully we can come back another time. But we've run out of time for this at this particular moment. I'm going to bring you in, Nick. Obviously, you did an amazing job. You've done an amazing job keeping Holly's memory alive and safeguarding young people, not just here in Gloucestershire, but across the country. And congratulations on the OBE. I know we spoke about this before. Can you tell us, please, the just very briefly about the Holly Gazzard app and what that is and how it works, and it's been very successful. Then what's next? I know you want to talk to businesses.
Yeah, the app is, as I said, we launched it in 2015, so it's 10 years old now, and it's tried and tested. It's been tested by the College of Policing as well, with various scenarios, and they now have it as their go-to best practice tool for all police forces across the country. Basically, it's an app you can download to any smartphone, which allows the user to raise an alert to someone that they trust. And that sends them video and audio evidence, and there's a lot of other functionality within the app. 500,000 people have downloaded the app, and we know that it's saved a lot of lives because of the feedback that we get from users. It's in the user's control, which is absolutely important for us, because the user has the power to include people that they want to include within the app. No one can see where they are, so it's totally private. And it's helping police forces as well, and it's helping the Crown Prosecution Service with prosecutions, and we're getting convictions as a result of the Hollyguard data that is being used in court. So, we're looking forward to rolling that out to more police forces across the country over the next 12 months. And in fact, we had a meeting with the government on Monday around this as well. So that's really exciting for us. But the other big area that we have been developing over the last 12 to 18 months is to try and help businesses more, because laws are changing. We had the Workers' Reform Act that came in October, which puts businesses now have to show positive action with regards to sexual harassment, not only to their employees against another employee, but also protecting their employees against customers and clients. And I mentioned the McDonald's case earlier on. Lots of our young people who are working in these types of environments, they are subjected to sexual harassment, both internally and externally. And the Workers' Reform Act hopefully is going to help to resolve some of those issues. But we've done a lot of work in the trust. We now have an online safeguarding assessment tool which we use with businesses, and we've got some really great tools that we can work with businesses on to help safeguard their employees, no matter what age they are or what gender they are, from internal sexual harassment and also sexual harassment by clients and customers. So we want to work with as many businesses, certainly within Gloucestershire, on this. We're talking to a big bank at the moment and a big housing authority who are really interested in this, and they are both going to adopt some of the tools that we have created. So any business that wants to find out more, please get in touch with me. We're keen to work with businesses and help safeguard everyone within business, because you go to work and you really need to enjoy your time at work, because you spend a lot of time there, but you need to enjoy it free from harm.
Okay, thanks ever so much, Nick. You're an absolute inspiration, mate, and keep going. Okay, let's go over to you, Ian. I know you've got a dash as well, and so I want to talk to you today about. We didn't normally touch about this, but you're working. You're a non-paid chairman of the Gloucestershire Organ Donation Committee. Can you tell us about that, please? Because the numbers are quite staggering. How many people actually donate organs here in Gloucestershire?
Yeah, the big thing, Mark, is the organ donation register. And if you're registered, a lot of people think they're registered. They carried a card around with them for years and take it out of the wallet. I'm not quite sure. We've got 400, as of today, I'm just reading this, 498,003 people in Gloucestershire signed up. That's one of the highest ODR counts in the country, considering that we've got around 660,000. Now, I'm not a mathematician, that's about 75%. And as of today, I can tell you there are 108 people waiting for transplants in Gloucestershire. Most of those will be for kidneys. And of course, you don't have to have 2 kidneys to survive. Many people make living donation. You can survive on 1 kidney. The big issue really is we need more people signed up. The waiting list is getting higher and higher. We're up to nearly 10,000 at the moment nationally. Ocular donation, eye donation is a big thing. We need about 84 eyes per week to cope. And one of the biggest issues is that we do have challenges in certain multicultural areas where some people don't support organ donation for their religious views. So that's an issue. I've been doing this now when I was editing for about 9 years. Why do I do it? I'm a very competitive person. I see it a bit like running newspapers. It's a challenge. We've got huge challenges, and one of the biggest ones is consent. An increasing number of people are perhaps quite depressed about the NHS and perhaps the treatment they've given. We need more people to consent. And if you're on the organ donation register, that gives an indication. If you suffer a terrible brain injury and you're literally taken to the hospital, intensive care, you're dying, a quick check is made if you're on the organ donation register and your family is talked to. It's a quite amazing operation. It all has to be done in, say, 10, 12 hours. It's an amazing situation.
Okay, thanks ever so much, Ian. And keep doing the great work. Okay, we're going to go over to you, John. Can you tell us, please? So a lot of people don't know about this sort of comic sort of side of things, Afterlife and all that. Can you just give us an overview of it? I can read it here. Afterlife is the tale of Jack Fortune, a con artist who dies, discovers an afterlife in chaos, and decides to take over and run it like a business. Well, this is a business website. So, tell us about it, mate. How long have you been doing this?
Oh, well, about 13 years now. Please don't assume, pardon me, sorry, please don't assume that the basic premise of the comic gives me any business acumen with which to comment on current affairs. Sorry, pardon me. But no, I've been doing this over a decade now. Got my start in the UK's independent comic scene. Unlike America, Europe, or Japan, we don't have a particularly large comic scene at all. I do a lot of work with the local university, and they've often said that while they have students on their illustration courses who are interested in comics, one of the issues in teaching it is that there is no career pathway. You couldn't graduate and then think, oh, well, I'll go do a low-level job at, say, Marvel and work my way up. It doesn't really work like that. The UK is, as a comic scene, is entirely based upon freelancers, hobbyists, small businesses. For me, I've had a day job for about a decade of that time, and it's only in the last few years I've been able to go full time with this, along with my colleague Nick, who is an artist and a creator, and our wives Lucy and Ali. We're a 4-person team at Big Punch. We've been making original comics, board games. We made a card game called Sandwich Masters, which is about, you may have guessed, sandwiches, but also sabotaging people and avoiding the health inspector. And we've done a lot of crowdfunding over the years. We've since expanded to, dealing with manufacturers, product safety, all the kind of things which to be honest, I would much rather just be focusing on writing stories, but this is the side of the business that, because no one else will do it. So we have to wear a lot of hats, basically. And this has all culminated now in the last couple of years with setting up a studio at Jolt Studios in the heart of Gloucester. So that's a kind of open working place where people can come and take a desk and hot desk. But there's also a lot of businesses set up there, ranging from prototyping and product design to tattoo studios to comic makers like us. And currently we're occupied with, I'm literally with this exhibition, which starts tomorrow. I am wrapping up a year-long National Lottery project-funded project. Sorry, I shouldn't have repeated project. I am a writer. Where we've been delivering free comic making workshops in Gloucester, and also developing a new graphic novel, which will be launching at the exhibition. And of course, just quickly say, this 4-book publishing deal with Macmillan, which is keeping us very busy at the moment.
Well, congratulations on that as well. And get down to the Jolt. I mean, absolutely amazing working with young people down there as well. And you're right, there's no pathway. You know, people. You know, how do you get into it? There'd be people drawing from home quickly in.
Yeah. Mark, I just think, I've not met Jon before. This is amazing. The Daily Mail has been running a campaign about the whole AI thing. And I don't think we really realise the threat to our creativity. And the other point, in this region, here and particularly in Bristol, we've got huge numbers of people like Jon, creative people. We don't care enough about them. We should be. And, you know, it's something I'm going to push in the Economic Growth Board. Creativity is a big area.
Well, it's massive. It's massive industry. We're kind of running out of time, guys, so we're going to go to the pick of the punchlines. Paul, I'm going to start with you then. Ian, Paul, what have you picked out, just in case you have to dash?
I'm simply going to say, look, devolution, we had a little discussion about it. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I think 6 districts into one county, fantastic. Streamlined services, creates a strategic growth plan for this county, which otherwise we have 6 councils doing their own thing, which is not sensible. I'm simply looking from my perspective and the development perspective. I think this should happen. I think it should happen soon. And I hope off the back of that, we're going to get ourselves a parkway station between Cheltenham and Gloucester and a brand new hospital. That would be ideal.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Great. Ian, what have you picked out from Punchline?
Oh, I agree with Paul, really. Planning. We need a proper spatial strategy. Stroud's in a complete mess. Junctions 9 and 10. We still haven't heard from government about the actual final funding for Junction 10. Junction 9, well, that's an absolute mess as well. So we've got big challenges there. Keep going on that story. Okay,
thanks ever so much for that. I'm going to go back to you, Jon. I'm going to keep Nick waiting. Jon, what have you picked out from Punchline?
I'll just quickly say the news that Gloucestershire has exceeded 98% superfast broadband milestone. I'll just quickly say, I'll touch on what Ian said. It's the expansion of the internet, access to high speed has allowed creative companies to set up almost anywhere. You know, the idea that it doesn't have to be in London anymore. The Southwest is very creative, and I think a big part of that is because if you can get online, you can do what you do basically anywhere.
Okay, I wish I could agree with you about fast broadband where I live, and I only live around a mile and a half of the city centre. I see that little wheel turning around and my Virgin stuff at TV at night. Thanks ever so much, Jon. Nick, what have you picked out? Pick up the punchline.
I picked out the Gloucester gift card. End of tax year approaches, organisations are being asked to consider investing any unused budgets, if they have some, into the local gift card to boost the local economy. These gift cards can be used in over 170 local businesses, including top brands and independents across the city. And if you use the e-card, there's 0 fees. So, you know, go in, reward or incentivize your employees and give them a gift card. I know you have a big one, Mark, so I've seen that on your punchline.
Thanks so much. Quite a few people mentioned that one already. My pick of the punchline has to be this story that came out of nowhere. Actually, was a company based out in the Forest of Dean, in the middle of nowhere. They employ 38 people. It's called Kronos Technology, based in Lidbrook in the Forest of Dean. They've designed and installed a GPS repeater solution for Virgin Atlantic engineering facility in London Heathrow. What a fantastic story! Got a turnover of 4 million. You never knew they existed. Tucked away in this fantastic building. It's a great story and punchline. It's the kind of thing that just gets me excited about being in business, and we are so lucky to have so many fantastic companies here within our county. I just want to say thank you to my wonderful panel. Been absolutely brilliant today. All of you for watching the show. My wonderful sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. If you like the show, please like, share and subscribe, and we'll be back again next week. But until then, it's all in the punchline. Thanks ever so much for joining, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.